What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Once again, we are here for week 4 in our weekly picks against the spread highlight special, where I kind of pick out one game that really interests me and one that I'm definitely going to be betting on, one way or another. And I kind of break it down both personnel-wise, system-wise, injury-wise, matchup-wise, and really get into the nitty-gritty of why I'm betting the way that I am. And I actually am taking the Cowboys to cover their 3-point favorite spread in New Orleans. It's a much smaller spread than I expected, probably because it is in New Orleans, and also because they're coming off a huge win on the road in Seattle that nobody expected them to win, including myself. But, when I went through that game, when I was preparing to bet on this one, I watched that Saints-Seattle game from start to finish, and I came away not super impressed. The Saints offense, truth be told, despite putting up over 30 points, they really didn't perform that well because, again, they got a lot of help from defense. They got a lot of help from special teams. There wasn't, they weren't really pushing the ball down the field. They weren't making a lot of explosive plays other than Alvin Kamara breaking every single tackle. Other than Alvin, it wasn't a very encouraging performance. And so kind of when you go through that game, I'll just go through it drive by drive. This is how it shook out for the Saints offense. First drive ended in a Seattle punt, which then was returned, so they had a 7-0 lead immediately, and then Seattle punts on their ensuing drive. They give it back to New Orleans, who punts themselves, and then on New Orleans' next drive, they punt again, and then they punt again on their third drive, and then on after that third punt, Seattle gets it back. 2 plays later, they fumble. The Saints defense runs it back for a touchdown. So you're up 14-7 with the offense doing literally nothing at all. And then on the next Seattle drive, they went for it on 4th and 1 from the New Orleans 41. When they just got past midfield, they were kind of in that no man's land where do you punt it? Do you go for it? They went for it. They failed. New Orleans defense got a stop, and then they were just kind of dinking and dunking and running the ball down the field. Like Teddy, he only threw one pass past 10 yards, and it was way late. I mean, way late to Michael Thomas. The thing had no shot. And his timing with Thomas was just, it's been off since he came in. It was off in the Rams game. It was off in the Seattle game. Their chemistry's not clicking. So that pass was way off. And then on the next throw, he threw a screen to Kamara that he took 30 yards for a touchdown. So they're up 20-7 at that point. At least I think it was 20-7 at the end of the second quarter, doing pretty much nothing on offense. They got a return touchdown, a defensive touchdown, and Alvin Kamara taking a screen all by himself. Not super encouraging. And then, to open the third quarter, a minute of game clock later, because they took the second half kickoff, they got stopped, again, just kind of dinking and dunking their way down the field. They're going for a field goal from the Seattle 35, and then the Saints commit a penalty. The field goal was no good. Saints committed a penalty, gave them another first down inside the 30, and then again, it's dink, it's dunk, it's run the ball. We're throwing a little flare to Kamara, he gets 8. We're throwing a hitch to Michael Thomas, he breaks a tackle, he gets 15. Next thing you know, we end up on the 1-yard line, and they throw a shield screen to Thomas for a touchdown, which, again, I did a whole episode just on that one play because they run it at the goal line all the time. It's a very high percentage play for them. Pretty much anytime they get a man coverage look out there, they're going to call a shield screen because it's a guaranteed touchdown. So, again, it's a defensive touchdown, it's a return touchdown, it's Kamara taking a screen, and then another shield screen with Thomas, which is like a 100%er for them from the goal line. The offense didn't do a lot here, and they still put up 28 points. And if you're relying on that to happen again against Dallas, which is a very disciplined team, a fast, aggressive, disciplined defense that's loaded with talent, I don't know how you can rely on this happening again. I mean, the last touchdown that the Saints got in this game, again, it was after a 4th down stop against the Seattle offense on the Seattle 28-yard line. So they were set up inside the 30 to start the drive. It's just it was a very unfortunate series of events. Pretty much the whole game for Seattle. They got the short end of the stick on every single bounce. They could not execute on key downs against the Saints defense, which if really we're going to give that win to anybody, we're going to give it to the Saints defense. I mean, they came to play. Demario Davis just had a phenomenal game. Cam Jordan was a terror. Marshawn Lattimore got beat up a little bit by Tyler Lockett underneath. But I will say that the stats on Lattimore in that game, they say he gave up like 10 catches and 150 yards. A lot of it was kind of cheap stuff. There was some rub concepts, some stuff checked down underneath him in zone. Like DK Metcalf got him on a 54-yarder on the last play of the first half, just on a prayer because he's DK Metcalf. He's 6'4". He just went up and got it back shoulder. Like, he really didn't have that bad of a game, as evidenced by the fact that the Seattle offense really couldn't do much for most of the game, despite him giving up 10 catches. So, the Saints defense is legit. The Saints offense has a lot of questions. And if it wasn't for that Saints defense and special teams, I don't think they win that game. Like, they just had every single momentum shifter go their way. And I don't think that's going to happen again against Dallas. Like, it's pretty much the same defensive personnel and the same defensive coaching staff that I highlighted last season. I did an episode on this matchup in how the Cowboys shut down the Saints offense with Drew Brees. They overplayed the run against Alvin Kamara. They forced them into third and long situations. They took away Michael Thomas because they had no other real receiving threats in the wide receiver core or the tight end core. And then they put like a dime corner, Jordan Lewis, on Alvin Kamara one-on-one because they weren't going to get baited into putting a linebacker on him. That would be stupid. So they put a corner on him, and they totally took their two only real offensive weapons away, and they had nothing else. They just had nowhere else to go with the ball. And it's still kind of the same thing now. Jared Cook is, 33? I don't think of Jared Cook as like an elite tight end that can relieve pressure on Thomas and Kamara. I don't consider Ted Ginn to be a versatile enough receiver for them to lean on him for the whole game. You might be able to throw like a shot at him, but Teddy kind of refuses to push the ball down the field anyway, so I don't even know if they're even going to try it. Traquan Smith is banged up. Like, it's the same story as last year. Like, I have no incentive to believe that this game is going to be any different than last year because it's the same exact story. It's not enough weapons, not enough depth against a really good, disciplined defense and a worse quarterback. I don't see it happening. I think Dallas covers, even though they're in New Orleans. I think Dallas covers because it's the same formula as last year, but just worse for New Orleans. Even looking at the other side of the ball, again, it's worse for New Orleans because this Cowboys offense is playing way better than they were this time last year. Dak looks like an entirely new quarterback, and I will credit Kellen Moore for kind of breathing new life into this offense. Amari Cooper, for as banged up as he's been, he's got a plantar fasciitis in his left foot, and he's got an ankle problem in his right ankle, so he's got two kind of leaky wheels right now. And he's still playing phenomenally well. Michael Gallup, he's got a meniscus issue, so he's not playing, but they're getting production out of Devin Smith, and they're getting Tavon Austin back, and they still got Randall Cobb making plays. Jason Witten's back. He's been surprisingly good for them, like down in the red zone. Like, this is a new look Cowboys offense, and I haven't even talked about Zeke yet either. Like, Zeke and Pollard, I think, are a phenomenal running back duo. And they still have their offensive line intact, which is stronger this year than last year because you got Travis Frederick back. Like, every single matchup that was bad for the Saints last year is worse for them this year. And I don't think that they're going to be able to pull this off. If they win this game, and I'm not saying that it's impossible because the Saints are a very talented team overall, but if they win this game, this will be the most impressive regular season coaching job that I think I've ever seen Sean Payton do. Against in my opinion, superior team with superior talent, with a backup quarterback, in prime time when nobody really expects them to win the game. That will be a phenomenal coaching job by him if they manage to pull it off. I don't think they will. I think they lose by at least a touchdown, but I'm leaving room for that possibility because I respect Sean Payton so much and I respect this Saints defense so much. If they win, it will be because of those two things, the defense and the coaching. But playing the odds here, because, we are betting on this game, the odds are heavily in favor of Dallas taking this thing. Even the injury reports, when we look at those, they're not pretty for New Orleans. The offensive line is kind of taking some bumps and bruises so far. Warford's got a shoulder. Armstead just perpetually has some sort of knee issue. It seems like every single season, every single week, he's dealing with swelling or soreness or something that's keeping him limited. He shows up on game days, but I don't think he's been 100% in like 2 or 3 years at this point. I mentioned Traquan Smith. He hasn't even practiced the last couple days because he's dealing with an ankle. Rankins is still trying to work his way back to 100% from that Achilles that got him last year. Like it's not a full strength team. And granted, the Cowboys aren't full strength either. I mentioned all their injuries. Amari's dealing with 2 injuries. Tyrone Crawford, I don't know if he's going to play. He's got a hip injury. Michael Gallup's not going to play. He's dealing with the meniscus. Zach Martin's dealing with a back. Antoine Woods, he's got a knee, I believe. He didn't practice the last 2 days either. Xavier Woods, I think, is going to play. He's dealing with a little bit of an ankle, but it sounds like he is going to play. So it's not like Dallas is a picture of health either, but it's just the Saints really needed to be full strength to have a shot at winning this game, and they're just not. So overall, just looking at schematic matchups with the Cowboys defense against the Saints offense, which, again, you can go back and look at that episode I did last season on it. Really one of my favorite episodes I did that whole season, and it's the exact same thing, the exact same game plan. And then on the other side of the ball, eventually I am going to do an episode on this new Cowboys offense because Kellen Moore has been kicking ass as a play caller and play designer. That is a matchup that I think heavily favors Dallas as well. I don't think that New Orleans has advantages anywhere other than, I guess you can consider the matchup between Sean Payton and Jason Garrett. But personnel wise, it's not close. It's really not close. So yeah, I do think Dallas covers here at -3, even though they're on the road. They're in New Orleans. It's prime time in the Superdome, which is usually a buzzsaw for pretty much any team that comes through. But, if Houston can come within a horse's ass hair of winning in New Orleans in prime time on the road, I'm pretty sure Dallas can too, because Dallas is a better team than Houston right now. And they're much more balanced than Houston has been or probably will be throughout the whole year. So, yeah, I don't see this going New Orleans' way. But if you disagree with me, which is fair, and you want to put your money where your mouth is and maybe bet on the Saints to win this game against all the odds, and you want to, maybe even just put down 10, 15, 20 bucks and get a pretty decent sized payout, or if you just want easy money and betting on Dallas, either way, whatever side of the coin you land on our season-long sponsor, MyBookie, all Film Room viewers are still getting that 100% deposit sign-up bonus with promo code Brett. You just go down, click that link in the description, look through all the bets they have available for Week 4. You can bet on literally any game, props for every game, over-unders. Actually, now that I mention it, what is the over-under for this game? 47. Man, I'm taking the under on that. I don't think the Saints score enough to hit the over on that. So I'm taking the under, by the way, since I forgot to mention that. But, you have that for every single game. You can bet on any sport, anything even outside of sports. You can bet on politics. At one time I saw that you could bet on who the next pope would be, which is just crazy. But, you name it, they've got it on MyBookie. So if you want that 100% deposit sign-up bonus to double your deposit and double your bankroll so that you can then go out and win more money, assuming you bet on the Cowboys in this game like I will be, just again, hit that link in the description, enter promo code Brett, and cash in on that free bonus. As for me, I will be back next week with more picks against the spread, and I do pick every single game for all my patrons. Keep that in mind. I only pick one game on the channel, but I pick every single game and give explanations why over on Patreon if you guys are interested in that. And then next week I'll have another Film Room episode as well. I think I'm going to be doing Shaq Barrett getting a boatload of sacks in the first few weeks. Might even get more. But 8 sacks in 3 weeks is nothing to sneeze at. So I think I might be doing him or potentially the Texans offensive line. So keep an eye out for those. And I'll be back soon. Later.